Hey guys, this is Dave Witchard. Welcome to the Next Level Live, and thank you, Sean Mike. Thank you, Mike Sizer. Thank you, Family First Life. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to serve, to hopefully give back, and build an agency and stuff like that. That I also have here as well. So, we introduce our special guest today, but the first one that we have is Robbie Wells, who is a first-time Hall of Famer. Say hi, Robbie.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Tim, Mike, everyone out in Family First Life Land.
He gets like double applause there,
Thank
Hall
you.
of Fame, things like that. So, and then we have two other guys. We have Mr. Tim Van Summeren.
What's up, everybody?
And he's built an agency, he's an SVP, so he's growing, and they were talking a little bit before, so but your agency is bigger than ours. So, there's different things there. He obviously is going to get Hall of Fame. He's up here working and getting better. So, and then we have Mike Curry as well. Mike is a Hall of Fame producer.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? Happy to be here.
So we're going to kind of jump in right into the Next Level Live. I mean, obviously, give you as much content as we can in this period of time that we can. So we want to, give you as much things that's going to help you grow your business, help you in the home, help you dialing, whatever that may be. They all have their strengths. They're all good at different things, but they're all the one thing they do is work. They're all hard workers. I've spent time with them. I know them, and that's what you get. So I think that's the biggest thing I would take out of this and anything is if you work hard. You can mess a lot of things up, but you can also get a lot of things done. So, start with you, Robbie, and tell us a little bit about your background briefly, how long you've been with us, and a little bit, just briefly about your story, real quick.
Well, I was a college football coach for about 20 years, never really sold anything. Came to Family First Life. That's a dangerous situation for the entire world because usually that person can come out fighting, and I did. I came out fighting real hard. So if there's anybody out there that's in that situation, understand that there's other people that have been there and done that too, and that there's hope for you. You can do it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Dangerous person who's got their back against the wall, that's for sure. And then you guys, tell us a little bit about you guys.
You want me to go, Mike? Yeah. So I've been here a little over coming up on a year and a half now, and my previous experience was in distribution, and then also spent about almost 10 years doing door-to-door sales for supplemental insurance as well. So have some insurance background, a little bit different than this, actually a lot different than this, but been enjoying the ride here. Love the opportunity. So,
Mike?
Yeah, Mike Curry, 32, got two little kids, wife, and did appliance repair for the last 8 years. Content, didn't, zero insurance experience. Had to Google what final expense insurance was. Now it sounds funny, but awesome. Just came in, dug my heels in, followed the system. I feel like I'm just a product of doing what Jamie Cheerio and other leaders coached me to do, and I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you're here as well. So we're actually in the Charlotte office in the podcast center. Mike works here out of this office, and Robbie, and so it's been a pleasure working with both of them and watching them, grow in this business and learn and watch from each other and different things. So that's the importance of the offices. And I think WorkSpots has obviously given us a great opportunity. Thank you, Sean, for that, allowing us to plug into any office across the country. Learn from other people, be around people with positive attitudes and things like that. So that's really huge. We're here on Dial Day, and it's just there's a lot of people in here. That's good stuff. So, Robbie, we'll go with you. Start with you. So tell us about let's just talk about Dial Day. Maybe talk about because there's a lot of people watching, right? And people that are maybe even brand new, and what that Dial Day looks like in the beginning, but then how you've progressed and gotten. Here's the thing. Are we great on the phone? You're good on the phone. You're obviously very good on the phone. You know what you're doing, you've changed and different things, but maybe how that process worked, how you've gotten better at it, and that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, I think back when I first started with Family First Life and how bad I was on the phone. I literally had no idea what I was doing, but I was determined that there was going to be of course there was going to be a learning curve, but I was determined that I was going to learn and I was going to be successful at it. And I truly believe that in anything, if you have an individual that's truly just determined to get better at his craft, then you will. So literally day by day by day, each time that we had a dial day, I just chose to make myself a better dialer and better dealing with the people on the phone, better at dealing with rejections on the phone and overcoming those rejections in setting the appointment, and not just setting an appointment, but solidifying that appointment. So yeah, it's definitely been a process, but if you are patient and you work at your craft, you can be very, very good at this business. You do not have to be a rocket scientist. You just have to work extremely hard, and you have to stay very consistent.
Yeah, that's one thing. You've been very consistent, and behind the leads dial days, he actually is kind of leads off the Zoom. You and Neil puts it together and all that, but he's always like the first guy on there dialing at 7:30, which is huge, and it keeps you accountable too.
Oh, absolutely, it
Yeah.
does.
So, and we'll come back and get some tricks from you here in a second. But let me talk to the other guys here real quick and ask you guys kind of that same question. But like, what was dial like, Dave, for you in the very beginning? Tim, you didn't dial leads before. Mike, you're not even from the industry, but maybe just really quickly how you have gotten better at that, what you've learned, that kind of thing. Anything you want to share, Tim?
Okay. Yeah, so definitely dialing leads was a new thing for me. Where I came from before, it was literally strictly cold calling. It was knocking on doors. We would go to a neighborhood and begin canvassing. And there's some value to that still in what we do here if for whatever reason we can't get a hold of a lead. But I just had a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that leads were even a thing. Before where we were at, we would almost kind of discourage people and kind of bash calling leads just because that's not what we were doing. And so when we were trying to bring people in, we would discourage that like it didn't work. And so that was kind of almost ingrained into my head a little bit. So I had a hard time kind of wrapping my mind around, calling people that had expressed interest in, fulfilling that need. Mm-hmm. And so, through doing my research, through talking with Dave, a couple other people, kind of just validating by what I saw on Facebook and other social media and all that stuff, I knew it would work. I knew that if so many other people were doing it, I could figure it out. I knew that there was going to be a learning curve because I just had never done that before. So, it was what we were actually doing was really simple. There was a script to print out. We were able to call, other people that had been doing this before to get some advice or some coaching. So the actual act of dialing and memorizing a script and stuff was not very difficult, just because there was kind of the roadmap and there was structure in place already. Which I think about, what it would be like 8 years ago trying to do this without the structure in place. I think that'd be pretty hard. So I do always think about the people that did this before, Sean and kind of the Andrew Taylors and the Paul McLeans and Mark Meads and things like that, just kind of paving the way. Very grateful for that. But anyhow, so when we're looking at doing this, pretty quickly, I knew that the key for me was to surround myself with people that were already doing this well. So for me, when Dave said, "Hey, jump on the Zoom dials, get on this schedule where you were on Mondays and Thursdays," I was like, well, why wouldn't I do that if I've never done this before? Mm-hmm. I'm wanting to learn how to do this effectively. Why would I not do that? And to this day, when we coach people and we bring them on board and we tell them, hey, get on live dials, surround yourself with people that are doing this well, it just boggles my mind why people don't want to do that. So anyways, I did that. Yeah. The process is pretty simple. So pretty quickly, I was able to begin to book appointments. Ironically, I'm actually up here in the Charlotte office this week doing a little bit of training with some of the key guys up here, Robbie being one of them, Mike being the other one, to learn how to get even better on the phones. I want to become more efficient on it. So anyhow.
Well, that's great stuff. So, like, the thing about it is we are a team. But listening to Tim, it makes so much sense. And I think if you're watching this and you're brand new, or you haven't written Hall of Fame, or whatever the case may be, you're listening to three guys that I know are all teachable and coachable. Now, different levels of how long it takes them. Robbie's a little bit hard. He would admit to that. Mm-hmm. It might take him a minute longer to process certain things, but he does listen, and he is teachable and coachable. But these guys are the same way. And so why, just what Tim said, why would you not get on Zoom dials? You're going to hear Mike talk about Zoom dials, how important it was to him. So I'm looking at our Zoom dials in front of us right now that's going on right now. There's 100 people on it. So does that mean all 100 are wrong? There's a reason why it works, right, Mike? So talk about how important that's been for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, early on when I first started working with Jamie, he set the structure that when we dial, we're on live dials, and I think that somebody like I just never questioned it, right? So if you set the structure with somebody brand new that this is what we do, you make it weird that you don't do it, right? So some of those things like be dialing by 8, be on live dials, unmute for coaching, and take constructive feedback criticism, right? Because like you may think you're saying something a certain way and you're not, but somebody, for in my, situation, Jamie, right, who had been dialing really good on the phone can say, "Hey, Mike, say it this way." And then now the person isn't hanging up. So, it comes back to like we're investing our money into leads, right? We're investing into people to call. Like, why wouldn't you want to maximize that investment? And that's something I've never understood. Like, you come here and you drop a nice chunk of change on leads. I want to get as many appointments as I can. And I think that's another thing. Like, you have to set minimums with yourself, even brand new, right? Like, obviously, my goal is 15 appointments. But if I get 15 appointments, I don't stop at 15. Like, if it's 2, 3 o'clock, like, I'll keep going, because the more appointments, the more money I can make, more families I can help. So I think it just comes back to setting structure and then following that structure, right? Because a lot of us, especially myself, came from a job, right? So it's like I knew, hey, Mike, you have 10 appliances to fix today, right? So like I knew my job. I knew each house I had to go to, what I had to do. So setting structure for people, be on live dials, certain amount of leads, be dialing by 8, and follow the system. Like, I think it really helps people grow really fast.
Yeah. And you say by 8. Robbie, when do we start?
7:30.
Right. And that's
Right.
okay. I'm not beating him up, but here's the reason why. If you know this, but the reason why is because when I was very first starting, which we actually have Easton on here dialing today, but it reminds me because Dom had his dial team and he was out in California, obviously, but Paige, I was on their dial team, and found out why, and the reason was him and John Whitmore had talked about it, and he said, "Well, how many appointments is the most you book in an hour?" You've heard this probably, right?
Right.
And what's the most you've ever booked in an hour?
Probably 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So let's just say it's 4. So that's 2 appointments, right? Every morning, which Robbie does that a lot, by the way, from 7:30 to 8. Do you all dial, or is that just the time that you pick? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's just a time. I'm in my chair by 7:30.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll dial right before. I just pick 8. There's certain reasons why, but yeah, I just dial at 8.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
The personal reason is fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, what we figured out is, like, when he did that math and you start looking at, okay, if he books 2 appointments every time from 7:30 to 8, do that over a year, that's a whole lot.
Well,
Yeah.
today from
Yeah, you did.
7:30 to 8 was
Yeah.
2 appointments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Mike will start dialing at 7:30 now.
I've really got to catch up then.
Hey, I did
great.
want to add something real quick to something interesting I thought about when Mike made his comment. When he said, I came from refrigeration repair, right?
Yeah.
He said something that was very interesting to me, because this, I think, when you boil everything we do, kind of boils down to this. But he said, hey, when I started at the beginning of my day, I had 8 to 10 appliances that I had to fix, right? And that's the situation that most people come to us from, is they are dictated to. They come from a regular 9 to 5 where somebody else tells them what to do. So there's no option for what they have to do if they want to keep their job. And so a lot of times people have a hard time transitioning to coming from a situation where other people are telling them what to do. They are dictated, their schedule's dictated to them. And, then they have to, in order for them to keep their job, they have to do exactly what they're told. Vacation time's dictated to them, time off with their family, everything's dictated to them. So we get the majority of our people from situations where they've been told what to do their entire time. And they get here, and all of a sudden they are self-employed. They have the option to plug into structure, and then if they are not self-disciplined enough to do that, then they wonder why they're not getting the results that they see on YouTube, all social media, and most of the time the person that brought them into the business, right? So if you didn't abide by that structure that Jamie set forth for you, you would not be sitting in here today, right? If you were not on the live dials, you wouldn't be here today. None of us would be here if we didn't choose to dedicate ourselves to putting in the day in and day out disciplines that it requires to do this. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall by the wayside, is they don't they don't understand the structure that they have to build into their own life in order to be successful here. So just thought I'd bring that up because maybe that helps somebody else out here when they're recruiting to make sure that that's outlined appropriately for people and that people understand you have to run this like a legitimate business and nobody else is going to tell you what to do. I mean, you are the business owner, you know. I heard it. Somebody said before, if you are the business owner, would you be impressed by the employees that you hired if they were like you? Mm-hmm. When you look at it that way, that probably will change perspectives for hopefully a good amount of people. So.
Yeah, and I think in this room, you can look in the mirror and say, hey, yes, the answer is yes. We work hard, do those type of things. With that, I'm going to go back to you for just a second, and then Mike, and then we'll come back to Robbie. So what are some things that you say to a new person to get them prepared for what you just talked about? So what are some things we can do that you've had success at? Because you guys both have some guys that have come out of the gates, pretty hard. I mean, Tim out of the gate, so he's pretty teachable. I mean, I'm just saying. So we're talking about somebody who came out fast that knows what he's talking about when it comes to that. But what are some things you did? You obviously listened. He dialed, like he said, so we don't have to go back to that. But what are some things you're saying to get your guys started that to get them prepared for that? And then, Mike, same thing with you because you've got, a couple guys in this office are doing that.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I help people understand that, we're here to support them, and I'm going to be spending time with people that are plugged in and that are really doing this thing. Because with the amount of people that we're hiring, the amount of people that we're trying to get into the system and up and running, the fact of the matter is some people are coming here and they are going to be willing to do what it takes to do this, and there's going to be other people that are not willing to do what it takes to be successful here. And so when I'm talking with people, I help them understand right up front that, first of all, if they're going to be receiving like my time, I mean, I'll help anybody that wants to be helped, of course. I'm not saying that we're not going to help people. But what I'm saying is I want to spend the time with the people that are being coachable, that are getting on the Zoom dial sessions, because that's where, we have to learn how to do this effectively. So, I mean, that's the first thing, is for them to be able to be coachable enough to do, the dial teams, to, buy the leads when we have the lead discussions about how many leads or what kind of leads, that they actually go and do that. And then they, I think one of the big things that we do pretty good at, but I think, people need to embrace it a little bit more is probably how helping them to understand that, what the actual hard work is going to look like in the beginning. Realistically, what it's going to take to do well here, go through what a schedule is going to look like in the beginning, how that's not going to be the same as it is long term. They're going to get better at this. They'll spend less time, on dials to get the appointments they need, or they book up, like Mike was saying, just booking more appointments to even do better. So I think just talking to them openly and honestly about the structure that they need to have and the time that it's going to require for them to put in to do this effectively, if they want to make this a full-time deal and they want to win at the level that they see all these other people winning at.
Yeah, that's really good. And so, Mike, maybe you can talk about too, from that angle. But I mean, we have to do a really good job of that. We really have to explain to people that you need to save that money. You need to put it away. No, I'm not saying save a couple $100,000 like we talked about, but just have enough there. Understand there's going to be a chargeback. There's going to be those type of things that are happening. And if you run a real business, like if you had run a restaurant and you don't continue to buy food, the restaurant's going to close, right?
Right.
So we got to make sure we have that. But what are some things you're doing that you've seen that's working? I noticed, I heard you call, and then you you started having, hey, it's this, that, whatever. And so my first thought was, and I didn't say anything to you, but I'm just wondering y'all's opinion because you're still dialing, regularly. But with a new agent, do you think it's easier for them to just be clear, straightforward, boom, boom, boom? Because, and I think that's something we have to, and maybe you're doing this because I'm not on there all the time, but some guys are just good. Like Robbie's really good at booking appointments. So are you guys. So you guys can overcome that. But can we talk about the simplicity of keeping it simple, but then talk about how you've grown and, just some of the tips that you've learned that could help somebody as they're starting to dial? Because that's 85% of what we do, and you're really good at it.
Well, yeah. I'm not nearly where I was a year and a half ago. I was not very good on the phone at all. But with anything in life, if you put in the repetition, you put in perfect practice, because practice does not make perfect. perfect practice makes perfect. Okay, anybody can go through the motions. We don't want to just go through the motions. We want to get better and better and better at our craft every day. So what I did on those Zoom calls is I started listening to some of the best agents in this business and some of the things that they were doing. And I was taking a little bit from each one of them, but at the same time using my own signature to make it my own. One thing that I did start noticing probably a little over a year ago now was that I was getting a lot of hang-ups. People were hollering and screaming, you know, why y'all keep calling me, this, that, and the other. So I was like, you know what? And I sat home one night. I took a pause. I just sat back and I said, I've got to do something that's going to disarm these people and get go on these calls. Because, you know, some of the leads are exclusive, but some are not. Or, you know, if they filled out several different questionnaires online, then they're getting telemarketers calling them, whatever. So the very first thing that I'm going to do when I get them on the phone is to say, hey, Tim, this is Robbie, and I'm not a telemarketer. That's the first thing I say. I'm your local, and I say local about 3 or 4 times in the conversation. I'm your local underwriter, and I'm right here in Fort Mill. And I even, if they're real close, I'll tell them the highway that we're on, you know, making it really, really personal. And then I'll switch over real quick. I'll say, you know, the reason I'm calling you, one of the girls in the office just put your information on my desk. And I look at the lead and I say, you know, this information looks like it came from a questionnaire that you filled out online that possibly got a bunch of telemarketers calling you about life insurance. Have they been calling you? And then they're like, yeah, they've been calling me left and right, blah, blah, blah. And then I just kind of, you know, flow right in there with them and say, you know what? They make things tough on us local guys. Again, I say local. Yeah. And then I say, you know, since I am local, I said, I'd love to do some homework for you and help you if I possibly can. And then I just go straight on into asking my questions. Were you looking at leaving something to the family, or is it more for final expenses when you fill this out? They'll tell me, and as soon as they tell me that answer, then I know I can go straight into the next one. Do you smoke or do you not smoke? Any major health issues with your heart, cancer, diabetes, anything like that? And then once they do that, then I'll ask another question that's kind of off the wall. It may seem. I'll say, what's your work schedule, or are you retired? And they'll tell me. And once I know their work schedule and I know that they're off at 5 o'clock or whatever the case may be the next day, then I'll say, listen, I'm looking at tomorrow and I've got a 5:30 or a 6 o'clock. Which one works better for you? And I go ahead and I get them to, I lead the conversation. I don't give them a yes/no question. I give them one where they've got to make a decision. And so they'll say 5:30. Okay, 5:30 it is. And then I'll say, okay, you're at 124 Ravenna Lane, is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. Okay, is the 124 on the mailbox or is it on the house? And they'll tell me. I said, okay, well, you can't miss me. I'll be there right at that time. And I'm a tall, good-looking, bald-headed guy. And usually everybody laughs at that, you know. I don't say good looking if it's a guy, but you know, if it's a lady, even if it's a grandmama, yeah, I'm a tall, good looking, bald headed guy. We have a little laugh about that, and they realize that I'm a human being too. So, and I'm not just a telemarketer. But that's just some tricks that I use. Another thing that I do, Dave, is that if I don't get them on the phone, I call them back to back to back 3 times. On the 3rd time, I leave a voicemail. And it's very, very simple in my voicemail. It's just, Tim, this is Robbie. Call me back. And I hang up. I don't say my last name. I do not say what it's about. And there's a reason I don't do that. I don't say my last name because if I say, this is Robbie Wells, they'll say, well, I don't know Robbie Wells. They won't call me. If I say, this is Robbie from Family First Life, they're going to say, oh, he's a telemarketer. So they're not going to call me back. So I just say, Tim, this is Robbie. Call me back. The curiosity in a lot of people will actually get them to call you back. But I take it a step further because a lot of people do not listen to their voicemails anymore. How many of us have actually gotten to the voicemail that says you can't leave a message because their voicemail's full or it's not set up yet, because people don't listen to their voicemails that much anymore. So I leave the same exact message in a text. Tim, this is Robbie. Call me back. And I text it to him. And I get all these people calling back, texting back. In fact, they'll say, Robbie who? And so I just answer that question with a question, and I'll basically take a picture of their lead, and I'll text it to them, and I'll just say, is this you? And they're like, yeah. A lot of them were like, yeah, that's me. How'd you get my information? And then I'll just use this because I want to get them on the phone then. I'm still not going to tell them who I am. I'll say, listen, I'm on the phone right now with my mom, okay? When you tell them you're on the phone with your mom or a family member, something like that, they know you're not a telemarketer. I'm on the phone with my mom. I will call you as soon as I get off the phone with her. And so I do not lie to her because my mom's 88 years old. I call her to check on her every day. So it gives me a reason to call and check on my mom real quick. When I hang up with her, then I call them back and I get them on the phone and I book the appointment. So either way, I'm going to get them on the phone. I'm going to book the appointment.
Well, that's good stuff. And guys, any tips y'all have that you want to share that's worked for you while we're on this subject?
Well, I will say Robbie has definitely perfected his craft in terms of, kind of making it his own. I don't think that most new people that come here are going to be able to get to that level as quickly as they need to. So for me, like when we first start people off, we really still start people off using the same structure. I mean, there's printouts that they can print off of our website. There's definitely the structure there. And I think for new people that, because, gosh, when you're new, there are so many things going through your mind when you're on the phone. You're like, am I going to say the right word? Is this person how are they going to respond to me? You're starting to think about all these things and getting inside your own head. And so the easier I feel like, brand new people that have never done this before, the easier and the more simple we can make it for them is going to be a really good route for them. So we just keep it really, really simple. Hey, here's where you print this stuff out. You memorize this as much as possible. When I first started, even though I felt like I had it memorized, I literally had the printout right in front of me. It was taped to the wall in front of me, and I was still reading off of that. And after a week or so of doing that, you become accustomed to it, and you begin to kind of making it your own. And so you're able to kind of tailor that same script and bring your personality out a little bit more, which is what Robbie does. And so he just makes it a little bit more him, a little bit more a little bit of a rapport building. So I think for a new person, having that structure, having that line by line that they can go through, and then also giving them the how to handle the different objections that they're going to get on the phone. Now, eventually, I mean, mine does not look the same as it did when I first started. So when I call now, mine's a little bit more conversational because, I do try to add in the fact that I'm local there because they do get bombarded with telemarketers, whether it's a 65-year-old person that's, just turning 65 and they're getting hammered with Medicare calls or whatever the case may be, or the, just even the other scam stuff that's going on. They're bombarded with telemarketers and spam calls. So if you can very quickly break that down where you can get past that, and at least they're open-minded enough to listen to you so that they can actually hear what you are saying so that they can, really just even be open-minded to the fact that you are calling them about their request that they sent in. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but so I think for new people, having that simple structure, having that straightforward approach, and booking the appointment, and then kind of more of the rapport you'll build when you get there. Even at that point, you're not doing a ton of that because it's pretty straightforward while you're calling them. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and so we'll go to Mike and do the same thing. But Mike, and I think in the beginning that's it. Simple, get the appointments. They're going to get their heads bumped. We had a guy, Joseph, 19 appointments. But they get better, right? They got to get in the activity. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a couple things, and I actually Daniel Broadway, FFL Distinction, got to give him a shout out. So he changed my life with the phone script. So shortening up, more of a conversation. I had an agent actually that was in here probably a couple months back, maybe 6 months ago now, and Daniel, if you guys know Daniel, phenomenal guy, very teachable, very good teacher, and he had an agent of mine in here, and we were running through the phone script, and I've done this ever since with new people, and even have to go back and do this myself, but we have our scripts in front of us, and I have mine, and I reference mine all the time just to stay on track, but the guy, the agent, was struggling because he was reading it, and we can sound very scripted. And when you sound scripted, people hang up. So we need to know the phone script for the reason why we're dialing, but we can't read it, right? There's a difference in reading it hey, Robbie, this is Mike Curry. I'm calling you back from the Benefit Center. My job is pretty simple. I'm going to be coming out tomorrow, like whatever you want to say, but versus having an actual conversation. So what he did was, hey, tell me a story. Like say you're a football fan, whatever. Tell me about your favorite team and how you learn to like them. How'd you randomly like this team, right? And then what you do is you start like having a real conversation. Well, I was, real young. My dad used to have the Cowboys on the TV all the time. And, growing up, that's all I knew. My dad liked them. And, Troy, won Super Bowl, like whatever that is. But like what people find themselves doing is they're actually talking, right? So that's how the phone script should be. Like when we're calling them on the phone, hey, John, hey, this is Mike Curry. I'm just calling you back, man. I got this form that you had filled out. You were requesting some life insurance information. Just needed to confirm that delivery address for you, the 123 Main Street. Is that an old or current address for you? Current. Awesome. And like I said, I'm just the underwriter they have getting this out there to you. And it's pretty simple. They just have me running through some eligibility questions to let you know what you qualify for. And it usually takes like 10 or 15 minutes. They got me out there helping a bunch of families tomorrow and Wednesday. And I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to be able to squeeze you in. Are you still working or retired? Right? Like you just, and no matter the objection that they tell you, you answer it. So agree, acknowledge, I might have this backwards, but it's like agree, acknowledge, agree, and ask a question, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not interested. No problem, John. I'm actually not interested either. So it's pretty simple. I'm just required to get this out there to you. Like I said, it takes 10 to 15 minutes. Got to run through the information with you and let you know what you qualify for. So again, I'm going to be out there anyway, down the street from you. I just need to find out, are you still working or retired? So whatever they say, you go back into the script wherever you are and re-ask the question, right? Same as Robbie. When you ask the working or retired, they say working. Okay, what's the latest you get off on a Tuesday? What's the latest you've ever? If you say latest, right? Usually around 6. Got it. Okay, so looking at the schedule here, like I said, I'll be down the street from you, pretty much all day working in your neighborhood. Got a 6:30 or a 7:15. Which one do you want? 7:15. Perfect. Right. Got you down here, and then you go in and finish the phone script. It's all the same, but at the end of the day, it's a conversation. You're calling somebody. You just need to know, like, I'm coming over. Right? They filled out the form. I'm calling to verify the information. First of all, we want to make sure the address is right. We want to make sure they know who I am and that I'm coming, when I'm coming. Like, we want to make sure they know when I'm going to be there. Spend all your time. Like, I spend all my time on my phone script. After I confirm it, it's tying it down, right? Yeah. If some you can sense if someone's a little like, well, I might be there. Well, look, man, I'm going to be out there, and this is really important. I've got a lot of families that I'm going to be seeing, and I need to make sure you're going to be there at 3 p.m. because, give me a 10-minute window, but I'm going to be there. And it takes 10, 15 minutes. I have to run through this with you. Okay, yeah, I'll be there. Okay, like put urgency and make sure they know that, like, you're going out of your way to make sure that he's taken care of. Some tie downs, color. Everybody knows this stuff. It's all over, FFL America and different websites. But, color the house, mailbox, park on the street, in the driveway, whatever you want. Big dogs or gate codes, I like that. A lot of times I'll ask, is this a house, apartment, or mobile home, right? Because if it's a mobile home, I want to know if there's a lot number. If there's an apartment, I want to know if there's a building number and an apartment number, because apartments can be really confusing sometimes, sure. Right? 123 Main Street may take you to a massive apartment building, and there might be 15 apartment A's, right? And that's not fun. And then they don't answer the phone when you're there, right? House, any gate codes. Depending on where you live, there's a lot of gate codes. And like you want to make sure that you get that information up front. So I think it's when you run through the phone script, it's know why you're calling, but make it a real conversation. I don't say the same thing every single time because no two people are the same. And it's actually the same thing in the home. I'm not going to get into that, but it's the same conversation in the home. There's not like one script that you say. You go as the conversation goes. So that's kind of my tip on the phone script.
Yeah, I would say too, like that's the goal that we want people to arrive at is to know the script and it be simple enough so they have the skeleton or the structure of it, but then they can sound like a real person on the phone with the other person. Right. That brings us back to the importance of people, committing to being on Zoom dials, committing to the dial days, because the faster you can dial through 100, 200 leads, the more you can get your teeth kicked in, the more you can taste success in the beginning, the more different situations, objections that you have to deal with in the beginning, that's going to, make your learning curve steeper. The more you do in the beginning, like if you can just go super, super hard on dialing and go through the ups and downs of that in the beginning, well, then with all that repetition, just like anything else, just like, professional athletes, they don't just practice a certain route one time. They run the routes repeatedly. I mean, I'm not, you've been through that before. I used to coach wrestling. We didn't practice a wrestling move one time. We drilled it and drilled it and drilled it. We would perfect that move so that when it came time to you have to use that in an actual event, just was second nature. You knew how to respond. And if that one didn't work, you had practiced the reversal move to that move that you just practiced. So it's just the same way of us on the phone. But the problem is there's people that don't ever give themselves the opportunity to get to that point because they get discouraged in the beginning. They don't have enough leads. They didn't buy enough leads, so now they're calling the same 20 people over and over, and then they're wondering why they're not tasting the success. And so that's the goal for sure. I mean, my calls with people now, if I'm on live dials, and I'll dial on there sometimes still too, but it sounds more like a conversation. It doesn't look like I'm not reading it off there anymore. But I have the basic structure, so if they throw an objection at me, I deal with that, and then I'm back into the actual booking of the appointment again. So we want people to get there. We want them to memorize it. So people should go through this process. They should memorize it, they should internalize it, and then they should personalize it. That's the process that they should be going through when they're looking at these scripts. So,
well, one of the main objections that you'll get on the phone is that the client, the potential client, will say, "Well, I just took care of that, and I just got some insurance." Now, in the past, I'd be like, "Well, you know what I do," but now, here's what I do. So, oh, well, that's good that you went ahead and got coverage. And I said, by the way, who'd you get your coverage with? Sometimes they'll say, sometimes they won't. I say, listen, here's one thing that you probably don't know about us. We're mandated by the state, number one, to help get you in the right package. So we do what is called a free annual review. We'll come out, we'll look at your policy, and if it's the best policy, the best coverage at the lowest price, we're going to give you a thumbs up. But we also work with about 25 other carriers that are all A-plus rated, such as Americo, AIG, John Hancock, Aetna, so forth, so on. I said, and what we're going to do is we're going to compare what you've got to the coverage and prices of all these other ones. And we're going to find out if one of these is going to be a better fit for you and save you more money. And if so, we're just going to point you in the right direction so you can get that and save you that money. And with that, then I just go into what time works better for you tomorrow, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock? And then they'll say, oh, okay, you're going to do a free review? Yeah, we're going to do a free review. Oh, 5 o'clock works good, or whatever. And then you just book the appointment. But that's what the main objection that I've had to deal with lately. So just keep that free annual review in your back pocket and start using it.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's the thing. You got to fight for the appointment. You got to understand. I think why we do what we do is to protect the families, right? We have to understand that the person, end user, listen at me, but the person who's filling out the form is asking for our help, and it's our job to get them covered because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. They're one prescription away from not being able to get covered, especially the same way. Something bad could happen to them. They get in a wheelchair, hospital, whatever the case may be, or they could just simply die. It happens. My first claim, I remember I wrote, it was less than 6 months. I mean, Mike had one was how long? Few weeks, right?
Yeah, it was 14 days after.
Yeah, 14 days. So
I had that happen too.
Right. So the sense of urgency has to be by you, and I think that's the thing we have to tell them over the phone. We have to tell them what they need, and then we go in the home, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. We spend a lot of time on the phone, but I think, again, if we spent 80% of this podcast, which we have, on the phone, that tells you how important that is, right? That also tells you about the lead spend needs to be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 a week. Hall of Fame, 2,000, 2,500. Would you agree about that? 100%. That's about average. And that means 1,000 or so per dial day, just making sure you have 100 plus leads. and you figure out the lead flow. There's different. All these guys have multiple lead sources. It's not one. Mike, I just dialed on last Monday, had a couple different sources and booked some appointments, and then I went in the field the next day, and then yesterday I did telesales. So you can never be bigger than what you're asking other people to do either. Like, I mean, I was blessed to ride Hall of Fame, but that's been over a year ago, so I haven't been in the field that much, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to get out there and serve. Matter of fact, I'd rather be in the field than doing that. Doing this or doing anything, really. I just enjoyed it. I just like serving the people. So I think let's get to that part. What are some things you guys do in the home? Somebody's watching here. They're like, okay, so I think the thing I'm trying to get at is the home part's easy, right? People have asked for our help. Now it's like, what button do I push to figure out which carrier is going to say yes, right? I mean, it's not like that deep. It's not rocket science like Robbie said, right? So let's go to, we'll go to you, Robbie, real quick. Maybe have one or two tips of things that maybe you say in the home as you first get in there, and then maybe how you set the table, and then we'll do the same thing with these guys.
I briefly, when I get to the home, I'll build some rapport. Love your neighborhood, like your dog, love cats, whatever the case may be. Find something that we can kind of have in common.
But you're moving quick through
I
that.
move real quick, yeah, 30 seconds to a minute, tops. And then I go in professional mode, and because they have filled out a form wanting information on life insurance, they did accept my call. They did agree to an appointment. They did let me in their home. So once I'm in their home, there's a 99% chance I am writing a policy, okay? Literally a 99% chance. And I'm sure that it's the same way with the other guys sitting at the table in here. You've got to get in the home, and you've actually got to open up your iPad. But if that happens, you're writing a policy. So what I do is I quickly just tell them the layout of what's getting ready to happen, because I'm the professional. I'm the expert when it comes to the insurance. They're not. If they were the expert on insurance and if they were actually licensed, they never would have reached out to us for help. So I just let them know the ground rules, what we're getting ready to do. We're going to sit down. We're going to look through the financial discovery of things here, and then we're going to go straight into what best fits you as far as coverage and as far as budget is concerned. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put an application in. And before I leave here, you will actually be covered. Set to go? They'll say set to go. Sit down and we go for it at that very point. So that's how I set the table when I first go into the home. And when I leave, they're covered. I tell them welcome to the family. Usually do a selfie with them to solidify the deal, and then follow up with a text in about a day or so. And a thank you note as well. So that's things that I do.
Well, that's good. And, so you mentioned something there. And I think this, and I mean, I'm not to overthink this, but you mentioned the text, you mentioned the follow-up and stuff like that. One of the things I did, Aaron's not here, but I wanted to make sure that the persistency was as good as it could be. And I think this will help somebody out there with chargebacks and things like that. Because we have a lot of, especially in the beginning as they're learning this business. For me, I just wanted to make sure, so I don't know what my percentage was, but it was up there, and probably close to 80%. When I was in the field, and so the things I did were, we sent a thank you card. Aaron called him when I left the house. I tried to give him a connection, like if she had a dog or whatever, I'd tell him the name, tell him a little bit about it. So when he called, hey, Miss Joe, whatever, how's Furry doing? Whatever. And he'd go and talk about the dog and just build that relationship. I'm here for you. I gave him Aaron's card as my office manager, whatever. I gave him my card. I sent him a digital card. I took a picture with them, sent it to their phone. And I know you guys do this. I'm not saying, but I'm just trying to teach you a little bit. I did all those things. Aaron called him right after I left the house, literally. I even told him, my sister's probably going to call you right when I leave. He always does. And he's probably going to send you a thank you card the next couple of days. Okay. I mean, that just tells them, hey, we're professional. I talked about the office. Even when I had one or two people, hey, we have a big agency. We're located here. Here's what I have. And if you're out there in the middle of nowhere and you're like, I don't have an office, that's okay. So your team does. Your manager does. Use that. Everyone has an upline staff everywhere. So use that credibility. Build that credibility. It's just like, I'm not going to say names of particular things, but right down the street, they're looking at the brick building going, that's credibility. They're right there. I can go down and see them. But yeah, but they cost a lot more and they can't get you covered. We can, but we have to build that credibility. So I think that's important to tell people. The thank you card, the follow-up, call him. He used to call him like 3 days down the road. Hey, your policy's on the way, whatever. So if we're writing American, we don't have to worry about that too much. But again, the more of those, that first, I think 48 to 72 hours is super important because that's when people have buyer's remorse most of the time. So if you do those 3 or 4 or 5 touches, so think about this, Mike. I talked to you once, I talked to you twice, he talks to you, sends you a thank you card, and then follows up. That's 5 touches with one person in the matter of a couple of days. That's huge. But if you just go sell it and leave and that's it, it's 2. So big difference. What are some things you guys do, within the home as we kind of wrap this up over the next couple minutes?
Yeah, I will just touch on briefly what Robbie touched on. I think the most important thing in the home, particularly for new people, is just to provide that structure. Grady Polson does really great training on YouTube, specifically how to set the table for that. Paul McLean, too, is the person that I relate to the most. He's got an 8-step process to the in-home, how to set that up appropriately, helping people walk through that process and helping them make that decision. So that's what I would say is, those key trainings are going to be important.
I tell them up front, look, my job's pretty simple today. We're going to run through, we have 20, 30 different carriers. We're going to run through some options, find out what's affordable, what you can actually qualify for, and then we're going to submit a request for coverage. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to submit a request for coverage to see if we can get you approved. Okay. In order to do that, we're going to need a bank or credit union account and routing number and a driver's license. Okay. And I don't really slow down there for them to acknowledge. I acknowledge that for them that that's what we're doing, right? Because you have to remain in control. Okay. They filled out the form. My job is to help them. So you lead, guide, and direct people. So at the end of the day, when you lead them, they do what you tell them to do. When I show them quotes, show them prices, when I show them products, I don't give them the opportunity. I tell them with confidence, this is what makes sense for them. I'm going to shop around. You use those key phrases, word tracks that covers up and keeps people from actually, giving you objections at the end. So that's kind of my in-home, and then you submit the request, and, it's usually always approved.
Yeah, thank you guys. As we kind of wrap up here for time purposes, thank you. These things go very fast, actually, believe it or not. And so, again, you want to work with Robbie Wells, you look him up, Facebook, Mike Curry, Tim Van Summer, and, we got Team Adrenaline, Valiant, and Blast Off, of course, FFL Velocity. Super excited to be working with these guys, super excited to work with, Family First Life. Please register for convention. Stop right now what you're doing, book your flight, figure out a way to get there. If you got to start walking right now to get to Miami by then, do that. Take a bag grocery, whatever you got to do. That's how important this is. I heard Mike Curry say this, give him credit. Someone said, hey, I'm not sure I can go. And he said, hey, I've got 4 Super Bowl tickets. Would you like to go? And the guy said, yeah, of course I would. He goes, so then you can go then. The point is, it's bigger than the Super Bowl because they don't pay you. It just is. The national championship game is coming up on Monday. Go Dogs. Hopefully this will come out and they've won. But anyway, off subject there. But no, but seriously, it's so important. And we have to support Sean's vision. We have to support the goals. $850 million is going to happen. Everybody in this room is going to double, triple, quadruple. We have to really just press on the gas, stay at it. These guys don't take a lot of time off. It's not saying they don't take their time, but they don't take weeks off. They don't take multiple days off in a row, or they would not have written 300, 400, 500, and they're just not going to do that. So if you want to get Hall of Fame, that's what you do. You want to grow a big business, that's what you do. Give it one good year like that, and it's over, and you can be, integrity and things like that. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for being on today. We appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Reach out to them if you have any help, and we love you guys. Thanks for being on. Thanks so much.